What's the most NSFW thing you've seen happen in a workplace? I was at my old job and I went to the bathroom. I open a stall, and the toilet is literally filled with blood. But you see, the kicker is I was in the men's bathroom. I clean pools over the summer and apparently the client didn't tell their teenage son we were coming because when we got there we found him asleep by the pool but naked with a little boner. I have never seen someone run inside faster. This coworker was really into me. I just didn't like her like that, but I guess she got desperate, so she goes to where I'm working in the building and she literally just flashes her tits in front of me in the middle of the day and walks away. I worked with a chick with big boobs, but everything else about her was meh. Most of the guys were into her but I wasn't. Had a girlfriend at the time, so she would flash me to, I guess, try to make me fall under the same spell she had the rest of the guys under. She was weird. One of my co-workers loved to wear miniskirts and go commando. I know this because our cubicle desks didn't have vanity panels, and her desk faced mine across an aisle. I didn't spend my time trying to look, mind you, but when she got on her hands and knees one day to check the wiring on her PC, it was hard not to notice. She was also either a natural redhead or very thorough. Friend was a plumber. He was installing a water heater in the roof with his assistant. He was in the roof and the assistant was fetching him tools and passing them up the ladder. After a while he asked his assistant for something and realized he wasn't there. So he climbed down the ladder to see where he was. Found him ducking the homeowner's maid on the kitchen table. They'd just met about 1 hour earlier. Went to go get a job at Lay's warehouse. When I walked in I saw the manager in his underwear doing some NSFW things and left. Let's just say I choose not to work there or eat Lay's chips again. Slowly puts the Lay's packet I was about to open back. Working in restaurant a few years back. Most of the servers were college age women but there were a couple older ones approaching their 30s. This specific one was older and had an infant. The younger servers were asking her questions about pregnancy and motherhood, and breastfeeding came up. She thought the best way to explain it would be to show them. So I'm in the back, she just pulls her titties out and squirts out some milk. Oh, and also saw dishwasher smoking crack. We had a row of 10 or so porta potties that started swaying uncontrollably. Turns out a couple decided that a porta potty is a discreet place to hook up. Went up to a couple in the bar I was covering to ask if they wanted a picture. Woman is short of breath and the guy just says no. I ask the woman if she's okay and she nods and I walk off. I look back and see the guy furiously fingering her under the table. Edit. Forgot to say I took pictures for the bar's Facebook page and sold keyrings. I'm a fool and forgot to include that in the story for why I was approaching them in the first place. Work in a kitchen that is connected to a bar. Two customers once started going at it in the ladies' room stall. The kicker? The stall was locked shut so they had to crawl under it to get inside. Crawling on the bathroom floor instead of going to the car. That's devotion. I worked in a crusty movie theater when I was an innocent 16-year-old. Here is a summary of the things I saw people my age doing. Storing liquor bottles in the ice chest. Snorting painkillers off the sink. Dipping balls or spitting in the popcorn. Workers having sex in theaters closets parking lot. Cleaners popping ecstasy before their shift. Smoking weed behind the dumpster. Manager selling drugs for employees to do on their shift. Employee parties held in our 25-year-old manager's trailer. He supplied the alcohol for all the high schoolers. Cans of graffiti remover next to popcorn bags lying around the back. It was common for them to be taken out and huffed. I worked at a Nissan dealership located at a busy intersection in my city back in the early 2000s. One of the younger car salesmen was trying to sell a new car to a woman who looked to be in her 40s. It was going well. They were working on closing the deal. So I take a break and walk to the back car lot for a smoke to find the salesman wedged between two cars amongst a row of cars with the woman he was selling a car to on her knees giving him a B job. I was in complete shock. She never stopped and he just smiled and gave me a thumbs up. I am a 36-year-old female and still think of this one often enough. Ugh. I used to work in one of the largest leather stores in the world, the kind that sells sex toys, too. The sales floor staff frequently had sex with customers in the dressing rooms, and occasionally on the sales floor. It was encouraged by management. The HR woman at an old job I worked once cornered me to tell me all about her 14-year-old's penis, how big it is, and how many times it's been within kissing distance of her mouth. She was telling this story very, very fondly. Turns out I'm not the only one she told, and she ended up fired a few days later. All locks needed to be changed at the office and we had armed security patrolling outside for a little bit because apparently the husband was a little crazy too. I guess I heard that instead of saw it, though. I'm a teacher and one day walking past the headmaster office I heard some very distinctive moans. A bonding day for the entire production staff. It's basically 4 to 6 hours at a hotel with access to the pool, gym, sports fields and a few organized activities that are aimed to raise morale. Now you're not supposed to bring alcohol. In fact, it's technically forbidden. But as long as you're not a complete moron, the management look the other way. Walk into a toilet to see 1 woman and 3 guys going at it. It was definitely consensual. I wasn't the first to see it and wasn't the last. Too drunk to realize that they should probably lock the door at least. Management looked the other way. A woman I worked with could be a little restless. We worked evenings and were relatively unsupervised. She occasionally would do exercises to burn off energy. She did a handstand against the wall once and her titty popped out. I don't think she knew I saw, but I saw. I saw your titty D. I walked in on 2 co-workers having sex. The guy just said hey, what's up, like it was nothing. Sadly it didn't work out for them. He pulled a gun on her in the parking lot a few months later. Honorable mention to the time I caught an employee getting fingered by a customer in a stairwell. A guy was watching porn on his laptop during anti-sexual harassment training. We caught a 60-year-old rich, married, white lady blowing a homeless guy in our bathroom during Fantasy Fest while her husband waited outside. In her defense, I don't think she knew he was homeless. Walked in on my boss boning the HR director in his office. My next review and raise were the best I ever had. I worked in a cemetery for years. I remember one of the funeral directors was banging a receptionist and one night she met him out in the wall crypts and the security guard caught them with my homie's pants down. NSFW and hilarious. Side note, he was engaged to somebody else who worked there. The fireworks were legendary. Work in a hospital. Had a patient come in for vaginal pain. Worked her up and positioned her in the stirrups so the doctor could come in and do a quick pelvic exam. Right after I did that, a critical patient came in that required the doc's attention for a while. After about 20 minutes I went back into the pelvic exam patient's room to apologize for the wait and put the stirrups back down so she could lay normally until the doctor had time to examine her. I walked into her boyfriend on his knees in front of her eating her out, asked him what the hell he was doing and he told me he just couldn't resist with her in that position. I escorted him to the waiting room and told security he wasn't allowed back in. Turns out she had chlamydia. Shocker. Edit. While this blew up after I went to sleep, thanks for the awards. Also, for clarification, since many people seem to be appalled that I left this perfectly capable 30-year woman in stirrups for 20 minutes, I work in county a night shift, so when a critical patient comes in it's all hands on deck since we only have 3 nurses and a doc. Was a little preoccupied doing CPR to stop and tell a patient it might be a while. Once I walked in on one of my patients having sex with her boyfriend. She had given birth, vaginally, 6 hours earlier. Chick I worked with showed us her boobs. That was pretty nice of her. The head chef brought a big duck-off bag of magic mushrooms, we're talking large grocery bag here, and handed them out to all the staff. He had cancer and he was good friends with the owner and did not give a single duck. That was a magical night for staff and probably downright surreal for the diners. Worked at a place that had a boardroom that overlooked the factory. The boardroom windows were covered in mirror vinyl and usually it's brighter in the factory than the boardroom, so you can't see in from the factory. After work it's getting dark, so the lights in the boardroom are brighter than the factory, so the effect is reversed and you can see everything in the boardroom from the factory but can't see the factory from inside the boardroom. That's when the CEO walks into the boardroom and ducks a receptionist on the boardroom table with a whole bunch of factory workers watching.